You know, prayer is a miracle. Do you know that? I mean, do you realize that the only reason that we have a connection to God is through the miracle of His Son, Jesus Christ? I mean, if it wasn't for the resurrection, you know, pre-Jesus, the Hebrew people didn't even have the ability to talk to God directly. Isn't that amazing? I mean, we take it so lightly, and the average Christian just has a really hard time with prayer. And I know in my life I've had a hard time with prayers. As a matter of fact, when I was 26 years old, 27 years old, and I first really decided I wanted to start living for God. And I remember I was going to First Baptist Church Euless, and Lisa and I got involved in this young adult, young married Sunday school class. And I remember we'd at the end of the Bible study, and guys, I was so excited about God. I just wanted to do anything God wanted me to do. I was a junior deacon. I was anything that God, every time the door was open, I would be there. But one thing made me sweat. When prayer time came in the Sunday school class. Because this is how it would work. We'd all be sitting in a circle, and the person that was teaching would go, I'm going to start praying, and so-and-so here's going to end, and we're going to go around in the circle and pray out loud. And for someone who hadn't been very involved in God for a long time, you know, I didn't know the King James Version language. I didn't know a lot of big words. I didn't know the things to say or the things to pray. And I remembered sitting there, and I would think of something, you know, pray for so-and-so or whatever. I would never say anything about myself during the prayer time. But I remember sitting there, and then all of a sudden, like the fifth person down would say my prayer. Like, oh, dude, that was my prayer. So I'd come up with something else, and then 2 doors down, the person would pray my prayer again. And I'm thinking, I can't repeat. I can't say a prayer that somebody else already prayed, but I just struggled, and we all struggle with prayer, and we struggle with length of time, we struggle with how much, we struggle with the relevance of. I talked to a guy just not too long ago that used to be he said he was a very strong believer as a youth, and he wanted to go off to college and become a youth minister, and all of a sudden something happened in there, and he couldn't tell me exactly what, but all of a sudden his connection with God became irrelevant to him. It didn't hardly mean anything. And I don't know if something bad had happened and a prayer hadn't been answered or whatever, but just the disconnect that's there. And I'll just tell you, the average Christian doesn't pray very much. And there's a lot of reasons, and I'm not sure what all the reasons were, but the first thing on your notes there that I wanted to open up with this is this. When you pray, you move God because He is a Father that loves to talk to His child, and you become more aware of God and move closer to Him. See, that's what prayer does. It's a miracle. It's a miracle that us that are created can talk to our Father like that. And let me say that again. When you pray, you move God because He is a Father that loves to talk to His child, and you become more aware of God and move closer to Him. Would you bring the next slide, Vet? This is Poppy. She's my granddaughter. And we went over and saw her she's sick tonight, so she's not here. Jonas is keeping her at home. But we went over to see her and spent a few hours over there with her last night. And as we were driving home, I told Lisa, I said, you know, when I'm around her, I just want to hug her, and I just want to kiss her, and I'm trying to teach her to kiss me. You know, she goes like that, and she slobbers all down, and I'm hoping she doesn't spit up when I'm doing that. But there's, you know, and the other thing that I do is is I love it. I love it when I walk up. Like Lisa was holding her, and I would start talking. And Lisa said, "Did you see that?" And I said, "What?" She said, "When you started talking, Poppy turned to you and just smiled." And then, of course, I go into acting crazy, trying to get her to smile again. Do you know that's God with us? There's nothing that makes God more excited. There's nothing that's more pleasing to God. The Bible says that God finds great joy and pleasure when we connect with Him. And in order to stay connected, we have to pray. How often do you get to the end of the day and go, you know, when you're a new Christian, you just can't wait to hang with God. And you realize how much you need Him and how much you depend on Him, just like Poppy depends on her mom and dad, and she depends on us. But usually there comes a point when they get a little bit older, they're not so excited about being with you, and then they get a little bit older and they're not so excited, and they get a little bit older, and you go, "Please have a grandkid so I can have somebody be excited about being with me again." You know what I'm saying? That's how God the Father is. And if we can accept that miracle and understand that miracle and spend our time and energy focusing on God, we'll change to be more like Jesus and stay connected enough with God that we know all the time, no matter what we do, that we're constantly working on being in God's will. So here's a question. Why would a Christian not pray? And you can't judge anyone else. I left a blank there, maybe not for you to fill in right now, but later on. Why don't I pray more? Why don't you pray more? Why don't Christians pray more? Why don't we make, I always talk about keeping our spiritual antenna up. Why don't we make prayer a lifestyle, a constant connection? And I'm not talking, remember sitting in that Sunday school class as I went around, I thought there were people that really knew how to pray good. And some of them just have that prayer voice, They'll be kind of talking like this, and all of a sudden when they talk to God, they have this new kind of God. And they start talking like William Shakespeare, and you're going, that must be a gift that I don't have. But let me tell you something. That's not how it is in our relationship with God. He gave you your brain. He gave you your heart. He knows what you think the Bible says before you even say it.